So good evening. First of all, it's a huge honor to be here. I'm a huge fan of Scott and especially learning more about what you all are doing. But for the four of you that actually read my bio before tonight, I'll share for the rest of the group of you that moment that they had, which was, how in the world did an Army officer, 20 years running around the Army, a couple trips through Iraq, Pentagon, etc., look just like any other Army officer, end up in a position where we, Ride Scout, are on the front edge of some really cool innovation. And oh, by the way, this other small institution known as Daimler took such an interest in it that they acquired our company. I get that question almost as much as, do I wear this hat everywhere I go? So the easy answer to both those questions is yes, I wear this hat everywhere I go. But number two, it is a very complicated story, and I'm really blessed to have the opportunity here the next 30 minutes, and I want to save time for some questions, because what's happening to your industry writ large in telecommunications is blazing a trail that is disrupting stovepipes in so many other industry, from communications to transportation to healthcare, and it's all connected. And there are some themes that I'm going to get into. So while I may talk about transportation and I may talk a little bit more about mobility, you can lift, shift, and drop many of the concepts I'm talking about tonight of what's made Ride Scout successful in our industry. And oh, by the way, maybe why you at least need to go back and ask somebody in your office a little bit more about some of these concepts. Because folks, it's happening so fast, that there are entire companies and industries that are getting blown away. And I won't say the name of the company, but 2.5 years ago, I was in the office of a CEO trying to partner with his transportation entity. He practically laughed me out of the office when I described this future of today. Not even 5 years, like what's going on today about the success of Uber and Lyft and about public transit and mobile ticketing and seamless operation. He said, young man, he had been in the industry for 30 years. I hope that doesn't resemble anybody here in this room. He had been in the industry of transportation 30 years, he said, young man, and I was 42 at the time. There are bus people, there are taxi people, and there are people that drive their cars. And that's it. Nobody's ever going to go multimodal. Nobody's ever going to get in a car with a stranger. And here we are right now in the industry that we're in. So go with me here for the next 25 minutes. I'll tell a couple of stories, and in the process, hopefully, if nothing else, it prompts you to think about your company, how you fit in this industry, and do any of these themes apply to what you all are doing right now. So we started in mobility. We started in mobility because I, at the end of the day, 4 years ago, was like any other person trying to get to work and back, trying to get to the Pentagon, and some days stay after work and drink a beer with friends. But if I had my car, then I couldn't drink a lot of beer because I have my car. Or if I did do the more productive thing, which is take the bus into work, the bus schedule didn't run as often during the middle of the day if my wife called me back to help get one of the kids out of school early because of a doctor's appointment. It seemed like no matter what, if I were to bike into work, just 5 miles from the Pentagon in North Arlington, 5 miles from the Pentagon, I could bike, I could ride with a friend, I could drive my own car, I could take a bus to the metro, I could have my wife drop me off at the metro. There were so many, by the way, this is the aerospace engineer in me coming out. There are so many combinations and permutations of time, financial cost, shadow hidden costs like lost opportunity from not being productive because your hands are on a steering wheel, that I said, forget about this. This is 4 years ago this month. I said, there's got to be somebody who has organized the chaos of all of this research and transportation and made it very simple for the consumer. Dare I say, somebody has done for transportation what we finally did for your internet bill, bundled with your phone bill, bundled with your TV and cable, and brought it all in one spot. So I went looking for that. I found great bus apps, I found great taxi apps, I found great websites, but they were all stovepipe because all these people saw their niche as their niche and they didn't see any horizontal play at all. So thankfully, for my investors of today, thankfully I didn't know how hard this would be. I went charging into it like any Army officer into a mission, and when I came out of it, we had a company that created a platform that approaches these problems that you see up on the screen. You see, what's happening is mobility is now trumping ownership. Access is trumping ownership. People just want to get where they're going, and they're far less concerned about the ownership of who owns the asset. It's the cell phone industry of the 90s. You all know if you were Verizon, you couldn't call AT&T. AT&T couldn't call Sprint. That was all leveled out though, and now people are talking across phones in a way that my kids or teenagers today have no concept they couldn't have talked to their friends in the 90s. That's happening in transportation today. And they only, and I say they, people think, oh, you're talking about millennials. I'm talking about everybody. People only want to pay for the things that you use. So why did you pay $65,000 for an automobile that you put in your garage, you wheel out in the morning, you drive for 40 minutes, you drive it 40 minutes home, and then you park it again? You talk about underutilization of excess capacity? It's crazy. If your car was your business, you would put your car out of business in no time. But you don't think about it that way. You think about the emotional connection. Oh, I need to have the reliability. I need to have the flexibility. But you're not looking at the facts and the numbers. And especially millennials who started college, say, in 2008, who graduated in 2012, who have scraped nickels, dimes, and quarters together for cheap beer and good pizza, they're not looking to own a car. Why bind myself to a car? The same thing is happening all across technology. It's about access, not ownership. Coupled with the fact that communities, and when I mean communities, I mean the government, not just the federal, the state, and the city government, they're trying to figure out how to provide the traditional role of funding and incentives to a sector like mobility and transportation, when the private sector has said, thank you very much for your time, we can do it ourselves. And whether it's companies like Zipcar, who 15 years ago revolutionized the fact that you don't need to rent a car for a day. You can rent the car for 2 hours. That's all you pay for. Then Car2Go came along and said, 2 hours, hell, you only want the car for 15 minutes? Here's the car for 15 minutes. And now insurance companies, regulators, bankers, financing, leasing, they're like, whoa, what do you do if you have an Uber driver who bought or leased this Toyota Prius and it says right there in the contract, cannot use this vehicle for commercial purposes, is now making $1,200 a week for Uber or Lyft? How do you rationalize that? Well, the easy answer is the private sector doesn't wait and doesn't care and it's blasting through it. And so our federal, state, and city officials are pulling their hair out all over the U.S. and the world, mind you, about how to deal with this. And don't even think about waiting for, in transportation, the U.S. federal highway funding to come in and save the day. Secretary Fox has made some brilliant and eloquent arguments that have gone on deaf ears about infrastructure and maintaining it in a way that we need to, because if we don't, we're going to have some serious infrastructure problems, and I'll talk about those in a minute. So I'll give you a quick case study. This is my beloved new adopted hometown of Austin, Texas. A newspaper, there it is, hook 'em. And to our A&M fans here in the audience, I like you too. But Dell's got a lot of people here, so it's good to talk Austin. This is a map that shows, and you don't have to worry about the details, but it's 5 miles north of town, just north of campus is the start point, and it's a race to go 5 miles south into South Congress to a cool place called Home Slice Pizza. And that route was raced by 5 people. They chose 5 different modes. One took a car, one took a regular city bus that makes a lot of stops, one took what's called a new rapid transit bus that uses fewer stops and dedicated lanes to move more quickly, one took a bicycle, and one person just walked. 5 p.m. on a Friday afternoon in Austin, Texas, And frankly, it could be in almost any U.S. city today. 5 p.m. on a Friday. The race started. The bicyclists made it in 22 minutes. They had the advantage of bike lanes. They probably blew a few red lights, but if there was no one coming, why should they have stopped? And don't say, because the light was red. No. Why should they stop if no one's coming? We should have intelligent transportation systems and signals that let that person go. So they are the future. They got there in 22 minutes. But then the person in the bus on rapid transit who had dedicated bus lanes that no cars could travel in, and they had few stops to make, they made it in 41 minutes. Who do you think made it next? The person that walked 5 miles made it next. Isn't that awesome? We're laughing, but that is no joke. You all employ tens of thousands of people whose productivity has gone to, insert bad word, it's gone to shit when they are sitting in that traffic. They're doing nothing for you. They're doing nothing for your company. They're doing nothing for their family. They are stuck behind that wheel complaining that the person on foot passed them getting home. We as employers, we as the private sector working in concert with we, the government, have got to fix this. Next in came the Pokey bus. Pokey City bus had to stop at darn near every intersection, finally made it, and then finally at the very end, the person in the car. Person in the car for that entire 91 minutes did no email, read no books, did not nap. Maybe they made a few phone calls, but even that's been shown to be a little bit dangerous. This is what we have to fix, folks. We have to work together as technology companies within the industry to figure out how we leverage real-time information, on-demand hailing of services with payment systems that make this seamless. Because we know why the people are in the car. We believe emotionally, don't give me the facts, that it's more stressful, it'll lead to chronic problems, it'll shorten my life, it'll send out more greenhouse gases, it will lead to an increased opportunity for bike, pedestrian, automobile accidents. Don't give me the facts. Emotionally, I know I need to drive my car because it's the best option. And that's what Ride Scout is trying to do, not from a technology standpoint, but from a human standpoint. Because this is what the industry is creating. Many of you are contributing, for a good reason, we think it's the right answer, to provide our own answer, our own system. This would be the equivalent of delivering to your house 22 phone books in the 80s. You're not going to need 22. You just need one spot to get all the answers that are laid out very nicely. The problem is right now, governments, private companies, everybody thinks they need to create their own service. So what Ride Scout's trying to do is, fine, create all the services you want. Let the free market decide what wins, what loses. We just want to put them all in one place. And so our vision in the next 2 years is seamless door-to-door mobility for all. And when I say all, I mean access and availability. Access means we cannot leave those that have disability behind in this mobility revolution. We need to figure out smart ways to make sure that they have just as much access and it doesn't take them 3 hours like it does today to get to an appointment because it's an hour to wait for the paratransit ride. The paratransit ride picks them up, puts them in their vehicle after 20 some odd minutes and then takes them to their appointment or it takes them to their bus stop and then they wait another hour. You wouldn't wait. Thank you, Scott. You wouldn't wait 20 minutes, but we, for some reason as society, hey, if you're quadriplegic in a wheelchair and it takes you 2 hours to get your appointment, so we have to make it accessible for all, but we have to make it available for all. We have poverty, transportation, deserts in our cities right now. I mean, I don't want to name individual cities by name, but look at the news. I can draw you a straight line between access to mobility or the lack of access to mobility that prevents people from moving upward in their own station in life. Think about your own life. You probably had it pretty good as a teenager, as an adult, young adult, that you had the access and availability to the mobility that took you to good paying jobs, that took you to good schools. You got to live very close to where you worked. You maybe got to live on campus. If you didn't live on campus, you lived very close to campus. Now, there are a few of you here in the room that struggled to do that. But the great majority of the people in this room had it easy. And what we're trying to do at Ride Scout is make it so that mobility is no longer a barrier to entry to the American dream. But the facts are very clear that your zip code dictates the likelihood of your success, not just for you, but more sadly, for your children. Because how you turn out and the role modeling that you provide has an impact on your children. And that is honestly what we think about every day at Ride Scout, because all too often technology and mobility, and it gets covered up in the news, and you think it's millennials and hipsters and beards and boots. It's all about people and connecting them to the faces, to the places, and the things in their life that are worth living. And if you can't get there, either because it's not accessible, because it can't accommodate your special needs, or because the availability is so scarce that taxis or buses don't even run to my neighborhood, or what does come out here I cannot afford, or what does come out here to get to my low-paying service industry job in the city that is so overpriced housing-wise, I have to live 25 miles out in the country, and to get a bus to get me to my job on time so I don't get fired means I have to make 3 connections. Takes me 90 minutes. I miss breakfast with my kids, and I miss dinner in the evening. I'm not there to pick up from baseball practice. I'm not there to read them a book in the evening. Mobility and the technology that powers it is so right there at our fingertips, and yet we don't often enough make that connection. And that's why I'm glad to be able to be here tonight, because what we have to do is, what we're doing at Ride Scout is kind of wiping the board clean again and go, okay, what is ideal? So what's ideal is keep everybody in that upper left-hand corner. Look, I am not anti-car. In our family, we still have the 1970 Camaro that my dad bought 2 months after I was born because he was having an early midlife crisis. I was the first kid, and we still have the car. I'm not anti-car. Hell, I was bought by a car company. I'm not anti-car. What I am against is when you take that car without even looking at your options, or maybe your community didn't provide you the options. You get in the car, you drive right onto the road, you get stuck in traffic, you add to the congestion, and then you get downtown and you circle around. By the way, 30% of all traffic in downtown cities are people just looking for parking. So what I'm against is the fact that the system, which we intend to change very elegantly, we're not disruptors, we just want to change the game very elegantly. The system is not designed to enable you to do that easily. So let's keep people moving, whatever mode of transportation they want, and keep them moving upwards in life in whatever station they want to take themselves to based on hard work and education. Let's not fall into these other categories of not moving, of becoming stagnant, whether it's in terms of mobility or whether it's in terms of society. Austin, Texas, we love bragging about ourselves. We love the fact that we rank so high in so many categories, but it is shameful that we are also now the nation's most socially, economically segregated city. And again, I can draw you a straight line between mobility decisions that were made by private companies and government decades ago that persist to this day. So we, industry, private sector, nonprofits, and government have to work together to change all this. We created the problem. We have to fix the problem. But the issue at hand is that we don't have another generation to wait. Robert Putnam, up at Harvard, wrote this fabulous book recently called Our Kids. If you don't remember a thing I say tonight, just write down 2 words. Our Kids. Read that book, and you will see transportation, mobility, and access colliding. And by the way, he didn't write the book about transportation. but it's so interlaced inside of it about mobility and how we get people we want to the jobs that they deserve, how we get people to the education and training that they need, and how to get people to the friends they just want to see. They just want to hang out. And there's all kinds of things in the way. And it's not just mobility. I mean, why can't every neighborhood have a pub? Honestly, we used to be like that when we all lived in the cities. There was always that corner little pub, you know, the little wrinkly little sign. It often said Schlitz or whatever it said way back when. But we've zoned them out. We as a society are too good for that. We don't want to have houses of ill repute that sell alcohol in my neighborhood. So what do? So too many of us get in our cars, we drive to where the bars are, to the restaurants, and then because we think there's not enough options, we get back in our cars, we drive back home. We kill 13,000 Americans every year in drunk driving. We kill 13,000 Americans every year because of drunk driving. On 9/11, I can refresh your memory, it was on or about 4,000 Americans that died in one day. We went to war for 14 years against the people that did that. We've spent trillions of dollars over those 4,000 lives on one day. And yet in that same year, we killed 13,000 people by our own hands behind our own wheels using the alcohol that we enjoy. Nobody likes to drink more than me. I'm not saying alcohol is bad. I'm saying the fact that when you get behind the wheel after drinking, we kill people. And we've killed 13,000 people for the last 14 years. Where is the outrage? It's because it's a silent, easily forgettable, that won't happen, that didn't happen to me, or I can drive. So what we want to do is keep people moving. Go to the bar. Just get there responsibly. Go visit your friends. That's what we're trying to do. And the day in the life of an average person is going to change radically. And let the 44-year-old suburban dad with 3 teenage daughters, I should say 2, one's now 20, she's a rising junior at SMU. Let me be kind of the ghost of Christmas future. This is my day. One day my wife and I stayed a little bit late after breakfast with the kids. We had to run some errands, so I was away from my normal routine. But we were close enough to a bus stop that then took me in, and I got closer, but the bus wasn't going fast enough. So then I hopped into a car to go, one of these little mini rental cars, and I drove it the last little bit to get to work. And then once I was at work, I put a tie on there, but I haven't worn a tie in like 2 years since I retired from the Army. It's kind of ironic. But once I got in there, then I had to do a meeting right across town, so I hopped on a bike share, literally just pulled this bike out of the rack, drove it 8 blocks in Austin, Texas, which in the summertime, you don't want to walk 8 blocks in Austin. So I just coasted over, waited at my favorite bar, which is one of my favorite bars, which is Lambert's downtown. And then I hopped on my bus that had Wi-Fi that many people in this room helped enable. And then I just took myself home, bus stops a couple blocks from my house, and I walked home. That's what many more people in this world, their life is going to look like in the future. It's not just driving my own car from where I am down to where I'm going. The best part is there is a financial and business case to be made to do this. This is not, I am not a long-haired hippie, sandal-wearing environmentalist standing in front of you. I am a pure-blooded capitalist, Army veteran telling you there is a business case to be made here. We just have to align all the stakeholders correctly. But it's got to be conscious capitalism. If you've ever heard of John Mackey and Whole Foods and what he's doing, so many other companies like him, whether it be the Container Store, whether it be Southwest Airlines, they are building these really cool companies that are very conscious about the full life cycle of their employees. Hundreds of thousands of them. And what we want to do at Right Scout is think about how she gets to work and back, gets to her friends and back, gets to her education and training and back, because as an employer, it is so expensive to hire new people. The last thing I want to do is lose her because it's a pain for her to get to work. Last thing I want to do is lose her because she was involved in an accident or an injury due to an easily preventable transportation incident. So I've only got 5 minutes left, and I apologize that I didn't leave enough time for question and answer, but I want to leave with you a couple of things I'm going to hit you in rapid fire with, which is how all these combine. It's the Wild West right now in transportation. Go find a niche, go find a sector, grab onto it, see how your company can be a part of it, because it's disrupting and changing so fast, nobody knows where it's going to end. And if you think you know, you are only making it up. Uber and Lyft and RideScout, we did not exist 5 years ago. The Daimler financial modeling practices are 5 to 7 year models. How long is your model? And did you account for the sharing economy of all types in your business model? There are so many different businesses that are out there. It's so fragmented. The barrier, and I'll have to tell you all, the barrier to entry in the software side of what we're talking about, forget hardware, the software side is so low that anybody can get in. And the money is pouring in. And I don't just mean acquisitions like Daimler into RideScout. I mean just the pure venture capitalist investment into the billions going into Uber and billions going into Lyft here in the States. But overseas, they're pouring. China and India, they are pouring billions because they have more people. There are more people in the middle class in India and China than in the entire United States population. And they haven't even begun to drive like Westerners yet. And frankly, as a planet, I don't think we can afford to have them drive like the West did. We need to fix it before it happens. In terms of what we're doing in the future, I preach to everybody I can, especially my own company. You know, Kodak invented the digital camera. Their laboratories invented the digital camera. Xerox invented the personal computer. And this is a true story. You can look it up in the book called The Innovators by Walter Isaacson. The team in the Palo Alto Research Center invented the personal computer. A little bit of monitor, a little bit of CPU, and a little bit of keyboard. They took it to their national board conference at their association membership meeting. Does that sound familiar right now? No. There you go. Not this group. Those engineers took this PC, this first of its kind, set it on the table in front of all of these executives. I won't let you guess the stereotype. Just put that image out of your mind of who was sitting around the table. And one of those executives quoted, "Why in the world would I want a computer on my desk when I have a perfectly good secretary out there to type all my memos?" So again, ask yourself, what part of this disruption, what part of this innovation are you going to be a part of? Are you going to be a part of that side that said, aha, I get it? Or maybe, I have no clue, find me people who do get it. Or, never going to happen. What we've been doing for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years is what the consumer of the tomorrow wants. And in that case, good luck. Because autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, vehicles connected to the infrastructure, vehicles connected to other vehicles, vehicles connected to the cloud are coming. They're going to move people in ways that right now make George Jetson, who literally had a steering wheel, they're going to make George Jetson look old. And so what we have to do is figure out how you're a part of that innovation or you're leading it as opposed to being behind it. And I love ending with this one great quote from The Onion. This was like 10 plus years ago. It's a satirical newspaper. And it points out that 98% of U.S. commuters favor public transportation for other people. For other people. But seriously, folks, we as a community have to figure out how to leverage technology to provide the real time, the mobile payment, to combine it all into one place like we're trying to do at RideScout. Because then when you provide that mobility, especially to those parts of our population that do not have mobility, we can truly put mobility back into upward mobility. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.